Groovy.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Jim here, and recently as I was perusing my PC Engine collection, I did a quick check online and realized I have every single Konami game that was released for the PC Engine, which I thought was pretty cool, kind of like a mini collection of sorts. So I thought I would sit here and go through all of these games with you, any potential PC Engine collectors out there. If you wanted to know what all the Konami games are for the system, this will be a quick little reference for you. There actually aren't that many, 9 games in total on the PC Engine made by Konami, which is kind of surprising since I think they put a lot more games on some home computers at the time like MSX and PC-88. So I would have thought that they would have had more games on the PC Engine, but alas, they do not. They supported the Famicom and Super Famicom a lot more than the PC Engine. But that's not really the topic of this video. The topic is these 9 games here. So let's take a look at all of the Konami games released on the PC Engine. And we're going to start at the top with my least favorite game of the bunch. This is Toki Meki Memorial. And anyone familiar with this series knows that it is a dating sim series. And anybody familiar with my game tastes knows that I don't really care very much for dating sim games. As I, started collecting a lot more games after I moved here. In particular, I was trying to collect all of the Japanese Dreamcast games, and I ended up buying so many dating sims that I never bothered to play because I don't enjoy them. I find them extremely boring, and this game is really no different from me. I don't really enjoy this game. It's fairly boring, typical dating game stuff. So you talk to various girls and you choose your responses and you try to make the right response or give them presents or do whatever else and hope that they like you. Honestly, I don't know what the end game of this is because I've never played all the way through this game. I think the only game in this series I've ever liked is there's a Toki Meki Memorial puzzle game that I've played, and I enjoyed that a little bit. But this is notable for one thing, is that I believe the lead designer on this game was Koji Igarashi, who is the fellow who would go on to create Castlevania Symphony of the Night and then take over the Castlevania series for a long time, and is currently working on Bloodstained. But other than that, Toki Meki Memorial for me, very unremarkable game, but there it is for your Super CD-ROM 2. You can go ahead and play that. It's region free. You can pick yourself up some Toki Meki Memorial if you want to. Next up, another game for the CD, and another game I don't really like all that much. This is Martial Champion, which is one of the few fighting games developed and published by Konami. And I've got to say, unfortunately, this one is not very good. I would definitely prefer to play like maybe Asuka 120% or something like that. This one plays like a fairly generic 2D fighting game. So you got your roster of kind of wacky characters, and they have special moves and whatnot. The thing is, fighting games on the PC Engine typically aren't that good anyway, just because I don't have a 6-button controller. I just have my standard 2-button PC Engine controller, and that's not really all that great for fighting games. You really have to build the game around that controller in order to make it playable. And this game, to me, just feels kind of choppy, a little slow, sluggish, not a terribly interesting cast of characters, if I do say so myself. Yeah, kind of just generic, and this is kind of a theme, I guess, because also the Turtles Tournament Fighters on Megadrive, another Konami game, another Konami fighter that isn't very good. Really, the only good fighter I've ever played by them was the Tournament Fighters on the SNES, but this one, unfortunately, kind of falls flat. Martial Champion by Konami on the PC Engine CD. Next up, we're about to get into a whole bunch of shooters because in the 16-bit days, Konami did shooters really well. First up, on HuCard, we have Detana Twinbee, and I love this game. It's amazing, and for the rest of this stack of games, I'm going to be saying that I love all the rest of these games. Those were really the only two kind of duds. But Detana Twinbee, awesome series of top-down shooters. Anyone who's ever played any of the games in the series, you know what to expect. You have your bell power-ups where the little bells pop out of clouds, and you can shoot them to change their color to grant you different power-ups. And some people hate this power-up system. They find it terribly annoying because it's really easy. to shoot a bell when you didn't intend to shoot it, and you lose the power-up you want. I like it, though. I like that it makes the gameplay a little more hectic, a little more frantic, and a bit more frustrating as well, but it's better than the typical power-up appears, and you grab it, and then you have your power-up for however, the duration of it. It switches it up a little bit, and I like that. The entire Twinbee series I like a lot. This game is really fun. The graphics are awesome. The sound design is great as well. Really nothing bad I can say about this game at all. Death to Not Twinbee. It's awesome. I like that a lot. Next up, another great wacky shooter by them. It is Parodius Da. And again, anyone who's ever played a Parodius game, you know what you're getting. It is the parody version of a Gradius game, so you got lots of wacky characters, really colorful graphics, and colorful sort of wacky environments and bosses, and a great soundtrack. All around, this is an awesome game, and again, plays just like any other traditional Gradius game. So you shoot a string of enemies, you collect your power-up, and then at the bottom of the screen, you have your selection of power-ups, and you choose which ones you want to use and when, so you can get options and double shots and lasers and bombs and all kinds of other stuff. And this also incorporates the bell power-ups from Twinbee, so you can collect certain bell power-ups. Some of them activate right away, some of them you can hang on to and use them whenever you feel like it. But just all around, Parodius Da and the entire Parodius series are games I like a lot. This is a series that got started on the MSX and then graduated onto the PC Engine and the SNES and the Saturn, and just all kinds of consoles saw some Parodius love, and Parodius Da for the PC Engine, absolutely fantastic shooter for that console. And speaking of Parodius, we're going to get to the series that it's parodying, and that's Gradius. So we got Gradius for the PC Engine on HuCard. This is an amazing port of this game. The graphics and sound are just outstanding. Obviously, they're a big step up from the Famicom and SNES version, but very akin to the arcade version. Really, this is a great conversion of the arcade Gradius game. Graphics and sound are great, and the gameplay is excellent too, but I actually find this to be more difficult than the Famicom and NES Gradius for whatever reason. I think it might be because it plays a little faster. There are maybe some more enemies on screen. It can handle having more enemies on screen without slowing down. Obviously there's more memory on this HuCard, I guess, than there is in an NES cartridge, so there can be a lot more enemies and bullets on screen at the same time, and the game can play faster. And for me, that makes it more difficult, but it is still incredibly fun, very challenging, beautiful graphics and sound. Gradius on the PC Engine, you really can't go wrong with that. And then the sequel to Gradius, Salamander, aka Life Force. Again, this is an amazing port of this game. I would say, I don't know if I'm going to say it's superior to the Famicom and NES version, though, just because it is so damn difficult. It plays a lot faster than the NES version, and the power-up system is different than in the NES version. I've never played the arcade version of Salamander, so I don't know if this is how the power-ups work in the arcade version. But here in this game, when you destroy a string of enemies, the power-up appears, and then you grab it, and then you have it. So, for instance, you don't have to wait until you land on the option power-up in the power-up bar at the bottom of the screen. If you destroy a string of enemies and then an option shows up, you just grab it, and now you have an option for your ship. So that's how the power-up system works in this game. More of a traditional shoot-'em-up power-up system, and this game plays much faster than the NES version, and it is much more difficult. I have a hard time getting just through the first couple of stages in this game. It is very tough. I can get through most of Life Force on the NES without too much trouble. This game, on the other hand, gives me a lot of trouble. And I only picked it up fairly recently, I would say like a few months ago, and I've been struggling to master it. I really need to put a lot more time into it, but it is very tough. But it is awesome, great, challenging gameplay, beautiful graphics, excellent sound design. Salamander on the PC Engine, damn good version of that game. And then the next game in the Gradius series, and this is like just awesome. It's Gradius 2 for the PC Engine CD, and I'll say about Gradius 2, one, it's hard as hell. This game is very difficult. I find it to be just like twice as difficult as the first Gradius. Very tough game. But this particular version, I mean, the graphics are amazing. The sound design is just fantastic. It's CD quality music, so it's like above and beyond anything on the NES or the Famicom or the Super Nintendo or anything else. The sound design in this game is great. The graphics are great. There are even some cool cutscenes included here and there, and just balls to the wall, difficult gameplay. But this, like when I start playing this or any other Gradius game, when I start playing, like I can't stop. These are some of the most addictive shooters ever. I really love them. If you're a Gradius fan, this or Salamander or the original Gradius, any of the versions on the PC Engine are well worth playing. This is about as good as Gradius gets. So Gradius 2 on the PC Engine, absolutely amazing. Next up, just awesome, legendary game. The PC Engine version was exclusive to Japan. All of these games were exclusive to Japan, actually. But this is Snatcher, and I also have the Snatcher pilot disc here. What the pilot disc is, I guess it was released ahead of Snatcher, and it's got like a BGM sampler and I believe some like interviews with people working on the game and some video clips of the game. Basically just kind of like a demo disc or a disc showing off what Snatcher is going to be. So, I mean, not terribly important to the collection, but I felt like I should have it. I had posted a picture of my complete collection, my Konami collection at one point, and somebody was like, "Where's the pilot disc?" I was like, "Alright, I guess I can go get the pilot disc." It was like $5. So the Snatcher pilot disc, cool little, thing to have in your collection. But Snatcher itself, this game is amazing. Yeah, I've never played the Sega CD version. I've never played this game in English. I've played it on the PC Engine and the Sega Saturn. But regardless, I absolutely love this game. I sort of stumble my way through it in Japanese, but it is so awesome. I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner and like cyberpunk and film noir genres in general. So, I mean, Snatcher is just a great homage to that kind of stuff, to Blade Runner and Terminator and things like that. So I love this game. I love the art direction. I love this cool like late 80s anime style. I am told that this is the final version of the game that Kojima actually worked on. So after this, they kept on, releasing it for the Sega CD and the Saturn and the PlayStation. He apparently did not work on those games. This was the final one he had any input on, and I'm told that there are certain things that are included in this game that were altered later or censored, or things to that effect. I can't really confirm or deny those things, but people who are bigger Snatcher fans than me can. But regardless, this game is awesome. The graphics are great. I love the cutscenes. I love all the dialogue. The soundtrack is amazing, especially the One Night in Kobe City. That's like one of my favorite songs from like any game ever. And the gameplay is incredibly fun too. I'm usually not a visual novel point and click kind of guy, but I think just like the setting and atmosphere of this game and just like how cool it is, that really kind of sucks me into it. And plus, every once in a while you get to whip out your blaster and shoot a Snatcher in the face, so that really helps it along too. But Snatcher, really great game, one of the all-time greats in fact, and on the PC Engine it's about as good of a Snatcher game as you're going to play. And last but not least, the crown jewel of any Konami PC Engine collection, for most PC Engine collections actually, Akumajo Dracula X Rondo of Blood. This was a game that, like, as soon as I found out it even existed, as soon as I even knew what a PC Engine was, I wanted this game, and when I finally got it and got it home and played it, I was not disappointed, because I am a massive Castlevania fan. I think I started playing Castlevania with the first game when I was like 5 years old, when I could barely make it through like the first quarter of the first stage. I didn't care. I could barely function a controller, but I knew I wanted to be playing Castlevania. So for my entire life, I've loved this series. I would say as far as just like a classic style Castlevania game goes, this is, I would say, just behind Super Castlevania 4. I think this is great. I think the level designs are just right. The enemies and the bosses. I think the difficulty is just right because the SNES Dracula X is just way too damn difficult. It's so difficult it makes the game not really all that enjoyable. Not so with this one. I feel like the challenge is just right. I like the fact that there are lots of different alternating paths that you can take that'll take you to different areas of the game and different boss battles, and there are a bunch of different maidens you can rescue, and depending on how many you save, that'll change the ending of the game, and that you have the option to save Maria and then play through the game as Maria, which makes it a lot easier. The cutscenes are awesome. The voiceovers, the soundtrack is amazing. The graphics in general are just really good. Everything about this game is really great. It's a shame it's so expensive, although it was later released on the PSP so everybody could enjoy it. So that's cool. And of course, I'm sure a ROM of this game isn't too difficult to find. But anyway, yes, Akumajo, Dracula X, Rondo of Blood. Just an absolute amazing game. I would put this in my top 5 Castlevania games of all time, actually. It's really great. And that's it. These are all of the Konami games that were released on the PC Engine. 9 games, again, not, a huge selection of games. But aside from those first 2 games I talked about, they are all amazing. You get some great shooters, you get Snatcher, you get your Castlevania. You really can't go wrong. So anyone who wants to collect for PC Engine, if you're a Konami fan, these are all the games on the console. Their prices vary from, not very much. Like Toki Meki Memorial can be found for like, $10 online or something, up to, Dracula X, which is like $150 to $200. But Snatcher is way more affordable than anything you'll find on the Sega CD. So if you can, I don't know if you can patch this game or if you can just follow along with, an English guide or something like that. But if you have a PC Engine or a TurboGrafx CD or Turbo Duo, you can go ahead and play Snatcher for much less. It's going to be in Japanese. But anyway, Konami on PC Engine. For the most part, some pretty damn good games, and I was pretty delighted when I realized I had a complete collection of these guys, because Konami, classic Konami anyway, I'm a huge fan of. I've always loved Konami. I've always loved Castlevania and Gradius and Silent Hill and whatever else you can name. So yes, Konami on PC Engine, some pretty damn cool games. Anyway, everybody, I hope you enjoyed watching and having a look at this little tiny segment of my PC Engine collection. So thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, etc., etc. And until next time, take care, everybody. Goodbye.